Hi, everybody. How's it going? I'm here. We're recording Vinecast coming off of a week that started pretty high, but then the goal differential ended coming out to +1 for the Ivy, despite a goal fest at City Stadium. So some highs, some lows this game week here in W League. I'm here with Matt and Shanier. We have our fresh off of recapping kickers last game week, but how's the mindset coming into this our first double game week of the Richmond Ivy?
I think it's setting in how busy this is going to be. Because Thursday, work kept me from being able to get down, for the game. But no worries. Sunday there was another option. And made the trip out to Winchester. I definitely wasn't talking trash about Winchester in the preseason episodes or anything. There's nothing, nothing wrong with anything in Winchester at all. Uh, but yeah, and it's not going to slow down for the next month.
Yeah, no, the games are coming quick and fast. I know we've got another one this Saturday, back at City Stadium. So it's a busy schedule, and you could see that definitely with the squad rotation.
Yes, you definitely could. So I've been writing out all of our various starting 11s since we don't have FOTMOB for W League. So we don't have anyone attempting to organize our starting 11 for us digitally. And let's just say there's a lot of arrows between the different players as they sort of move between positions and they sort of start in different places. So we actually had a pretty similar starting 11 this game to the last one. The main difference is that Ella Stanley came in for Ava Pussover on the wing, and Hannah Heaton was on the bench for the first time this season, and Dakota Brown came in. But other than that, it was similar to what we've seen. But we started to see a little rotation, yes, especially since they're now starting to play about every 3 to 4 days, pretty much through the end of the season, which is a lot. It's a lot of factoring in travel into that. They're traveling up to Nova, to Eastern Pennsylvania, Maryland. So it's a big ask, but pretty much a similar starting 11 in this one. But I wouldn't say the performance was what we've come to expect from our first two Richmond Ivy games. Well, sorry, I'm skipping ahead. Charlottesville game. Sorry, guys. We covered 2 games this week, and my starting 11s are left and right. So in the Charlottesville game, and then there ended up being 3 changes in the Marauders game. For Charlottesville, this was our third half total of Richmond Ivy soccer, and yet our first half did seem a little similar to the first half against the Virginia Marauders a few weeks ago, in that it was a 0-0 affair. Yet Ivy definitely dominated possession. What did you see from the Ivy in possession, Shanier?
I think, like you said, it was very similar to the home opener. I think it was even more pronounced in this game. The home opener, at least when Marauders got the ball, they were trying to do something with it. It's literally in this game, every time Charlottesville got the ball, we swarmed them. They made a mistake. We won the ball right back. At any point, if you turned away from the field and looked back at any point, Ivy had the ball. And the chances we were creating, I don't even know what the stats are for the corner kicks, but I literally remember about 20 minutes in looking around at other people like, wait, how many corners have we had so far? Like 15. So we're looking at a situation here where it looks like they perfected what they did against Marauders in the first game and came even harder at Charlottesville. Granted, I think Charlottesville is not as strong of a team as Virginia Marauders. They definitely do not work well under pressure at all. And you could see it, like they were completely frazzled. Our midfield did a very, very good job of shutting everything down. Our back line didn't really have that much to do. The protection from the midfield was very, very good. And our front line stayed busy. The front line actually got way more of the ball than our back line did throughout that first half. We created so many chances. Unfortunately, weren't able to find the back of the net at all in the first half, although we created a lot of very close chances. But yeah, the pressure was undeniable, and it was definitely fine tuned from the first game.
Anything you want to add to that, Matt?
No, I mean, it felt, watching it on the YouTube stream felt like, a carbon copy, in the first half. Just, superior players, superior athleticism, going through and just missing that final touch to, be able to break, the other team down. I mean, it was even down to other teams wearing blue again. It literally looked like the exact same game. So I was never really worried about, is it going to happen? It was just more of, are they going to make us wait as long this time, for it to happen? Thankfully, they didn't.
Yeah, thankfully. I know, and I think obviously like the back line hasn't had too much to do, and our front line is pretty busy. But I think the midfield trio of Hannah Heaton, Sarah Flemia, and Kylie Fitzgerald, I've been very impressed at sort of their fluidity. Like they sort of move. That I wouldn't necessarily looking at them say, oh, this one's here, this one's here. Hannah Heaton tends to drop back a little bit more. She's slightly more defensive, but she's often getting forward. So I think it's very impressive how quickly those three have sort of gelled as they feel fluidly. They sort of play off each other's games and to create chances, but yeah, also provide that protection to the back line. And then
I think.
Yeah, go for it, Chenier.
Yeah, I was going to say with regards to that midfield three, they all were very, very good, but I think Sarah stood out in terms of composure and ball control. She became a fan favorite at City Stadium in this game. I just completely collecting broken ankles from the Charlottesville players. Like it's just, she was unplayable. Like every time the ball came to her feet, it looked like someone was going to close her down. She was embarrassing Charlottesville players left and right. And then just cool, calm, collected, laying the ball off. I don't think she made a wayward pass in the first half at all.
Wow. Wish I could have been there. I was unfortunately not able to be there because I was at the world famous Chapel Roan concert at Browns Island. So I did miss the Goal Fest at City Stadium. So I'm hoping we'll get a 2.0 this weekend.
Oh yeah, no. I think Sarah kind of got herself a carbon copy of a Bell Hart song for herself from the fans. So they were definitely saying "Play Me as on Fire." So
do not get her started on songs.
Our songbook is coming along, but I love to hear that, especially since Flemmy is not someone who's been among the goals yet. So I think it's amazing to see, that sort of for someone who's not necessarily scoring goals, which tends to be the most visible way that that fans sort of latch on to a player, but someone who is purely being appreciated for their prowess on the ball, their distribution. I think it speaks volumes just how much you're able to, even maybe from the corner, maybe closer to field goal, just how impressive she is in person.
Yeah, no, it definitely stood out. Like normally you get a player who does something like that in the midfield. It only takes someone who has a true soccer mind to really recognize it and notice it. But it stood out to everyone. Every time she got the ball, she was embarrassing someone. Like almost every single time she got the ball, she was embarrassing someone. And it just got to the point where it was fun. It was just fun to watch her do it. So cool, calm, collected. I think she probably in the first half probably got 3 or 4 megs, and just it was really a great performance from her, among other players who actually performed very well as well. So that's saying something.
Yeah, and I would say one other name that we talked about, especially in the first game as well, is Kana Matsuhisu, who also is a dribbler of unbelievable skill, who is so much fun to see, sort of taking players on the wing, getting the crossing in. I almost feel like she's almost not very showy about it. Like it's more her sense of timing and the way she sort of moves her body to fake players. She's not necessarily doing Cruyff turns and all sorts of like crazy footwork. She just has this ability to like shift her shoulders and take one quick touch past her defender so consistently. Yet it's like they couldn't figure it out for the entire game.
No.
Fluid with her movements.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, she was another one who really stood out and became a fan favorite as well, netting a few goals herself, and just a lot of times getting all the way down to the baseline and cutting inside, getting past the defender on the baseline and being able to slot that ball into the middle. Unfortunately, I think there's some work that may need to be done on the off-ball runs of the other forward players as she's coming down that wing, because she literally was doing it the entire half. And I think their runs were crowding the box too much. And I think I was in my mind, I just kept seeing every time that run, I would just wanted Cam to make a run towards goal as she's getting there, and as she cuts inside on the baseline, take a run wide, draw a defender away, leave some space in the middle for her to just literally tap the ball and for someone to be able to easily tap it home. But I mean, she was electrifying on that side. That fullback had no chance of catching her the whole game. I know she was probably beat even just by the end of the first half. She was beat, trying to keep up with kind of.
Yeah, and she's a perfect transition to the second half. But before we do, this did start. We did notice one other trend. Obviously, we were goalless in the first half, similar to the first half of the first game. Although you mentioned, Shanir, a boatload of corners, and something that we've noticed now across also these 4 halves of soccer that we're going to talk about is they all seem to be outswingers. We're still trying to figure out what or a majority of them seem to be outswingers. Matt, do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just something that we gradually picked up upon. Part of it was my own confusion because I would bet everything, probably just because it's simplistic. Oh, Kana's playing on the left. She must be left-footed. And then I see her taking right-footed corners. I'm like, huh? What? But it seems to be a strategical choice, which I don't hate. Outswingers. If you make good contact, physics will tell you it's going to go a lot more strongly, hopefully towards the goal, not over or wide, of the goal. Hasn't totally come to play yet. Wouldn't mind a in-swinger every now and then, just because. Kate, you've made reference to this in the past. Sometimes, the goaltending, at this level is not the most reliable. And if you can swing one in there, get a few bodies in there, like dare the ref to call the foul, dare the ref to do anything, or maybe you'll just get a nice accidental Olympico. Maybe you'll get an own goal out of it. But, for a team who, especially in the first half, hasn't seemed to be able to, crack the code yet, maybe that could be something that's a little bit different. But it's not like the corners have been poorly taken. It's just interesting that they're going all out swinger.
Yeah, especially since we don't necessarily have a lot of height in the team, so to get the ball past the keeper, you have to hit it with a decent amount of power, and it's kind of hard to do that when you have a slightly lower center of gravity. You're maybe not getting the full power that you're seeing maybe at the professional level or in the men's game. So yeah, being a little further from goal makes it a little bit tougher to actually beat the keeper on a header, unless really hitting a bullet, which so far we haven't necessarily seen anybody hit a bullet header so far. So, but that's a great transition to not less than 2 minutes into the second half. We were worried how long it might take for them to sort of break through the Charlottesville defense. It took quite a long time against Marauders the first go around. We did not have that problem in the second half from the 46th minute, and actually 2 goals within 10 minutes. We've got now, yes, Kana. I'm going to start that. Not Kana, because her name is Kana. 2 goals that were almost mirror images of each other, and also a little bit reciprocal of Adrian Billhardt's first goal in the Kickers game this weekend. Shanir, do you want to talk through Kana's goals?
Definitely the first one. What stood out to me about that one was her composure, bringing that ball inside in a crowded box, like she was surrounded. And when it in live in the stadium when it was happening, I expected it to come off of a defender because that was the biggest thing that was happening to us in the first half. The first half, the shots were coming. It's literally Charlottesville were throwing their bodies in front of every shot, desperately throwing their bodies. And I remember at halftime, a lot of the people in Section O saying that they're not going to be able to hold that for the second half. They're not going to be able to keep that going for the second half. They're going to be that half second late throwing their body in front, and we're going to create the chances. And I think this first goal, less than 2 minutes, about a minute and a half into the second half, kind of cuts inside, and you could see just lead legs trying to keep up with her. And she just literally cuts past two defenders and locks it into the goal in a crowded box, far post. Nice and easy, cool as you like. Goalkeeper stands no chance of getting there. Too many bodies in front of her, and it was just very well taken goal, very well taken shot. The composure that Connor had surrounded by those players kind of let you know that this Ivy team knew that this was the half they were going to be laying it on.
Yeah, it almost felt like one of those moments where the ball gets out to her, edge of the box. She's just like, screw it, I'll do it myself, and she did. And thankfully, with the camera angle the way it was, you could see just the clear path through the ball was able to take into the far side netting, and floodgates open from there.
Yeah, I think I was impressed at just how similar her second goal was, yet it was from even further out, so it was almost more difficult. Although I do think there was a slight benefit in that Cam was making a near post run across the box, and I think the keeper thought that Cam was going to get to the ball, so sort of positioned herself for the ball to be deflected off Cam into the goal, but the ball went past both of them straight to the same corner. So I think Cam's movement there really helped put the keeper off, so the keeper wasn't looking to dive to her left and try to make the save. But she almost raised the stakes from her previous goal, which was from inside the 18, and this one was actually from outside the 18, but the exact same shot hit right across the right through a very crowded box into the far corner. And so far, she is winning celebration. She in the celebration standings because her hands up to her ears, running along the sideline, begging City Stadium to just keep cheering, get louder, bring the energy. I love to see that. I will say I think the celebrations fell off as the game progressed. I won't say too much about it because I don't want to spend too much time complaining on what was a really, really wonderful half of soccer. But Connor really brought those celebrations for her first two goals, which really it looked like the atmosphere was just electric.
Yeah, I mean,
in the crowd, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you talking about her with that first goal, her celebration, kind of getting the crowd ramped up. To be honest with you, even though I love that goal celebration, it wasn't even necessary because and that was one thing I definitely remembered from the first game. The explosion when the goal was scored, like the explosion of noise in City Stadium. It's been a long time since I've heard that. And in this game, it was the same thing. That first goal she scored, you would expect, all right, probably at least a quarter of the stadium is still up waiting for their food and haven't gotten back to their seats yet. No, it was noise, just noise. And to kind of piggyback off of that as well, just the attendance at City Stadium. I mean, on a Thursday night where there was a chance of isolated thunderstorms, over 4,000 people at City Stadium, I was highly impressed. I was pleasantly surprised to see that many people show up to the Ivy game, and I was really, really happy to see that. But no, I think even though the celebrations on the field were a a little curtailed as the game went on because they started to realize, all right, this is going to be kind of a walkover for the rest of this game. I mean, the stadium was having none of it. Every single goal, there was an explosion of noise. Just everyone on their feet, everyone waving their hands, screaming. Section O was rowdy, and it just let you know that it's been a long time coming. It's been a long time coming. Richmond's been waiting for this, and now we've got ourselves a solid women's team that came in swinging, came into the league, came into their first season swinging, and with this game kind of really showed what they're capable of. When's the last time we saw 5 goals scored by the home team at City Stadium? I can't remember. So
yeah,
it's a big deal. It's a big deal, and to be honest with you, you saw as I talked about in the first half, Charlottesville's right back, yes, right back, definitely came into the second half with tired legs. Kana had worn her completely out in the first half, and in this half, she could not mark her. Every time that ball came into the space where Kana can get to it, she was nowhere to be found because she was 3-4 steps behind because her legs just couldn't handle it. And that's what created those opportunities for Kana to get those shots off. As for the second goal, I have to give some credit to Cam because I think Cam's run in definitely throws the goalkeeper off. She doesn't know whether she's going for the ball or going to try and block a tap in, and it just let you know like just how easily we're able to get past it. And that goalkeeper, she doesn't know what to do. She has no idea what to do because of that run from Cam. Just a wonderful run from a striker, and that's just striker's instinct. Whether I get to this ball or not, it's going to cause this goalkeeper problems. Let me make it difficult for her, whether I can get a touch on it or not. Very well done.
Yeah, and Cam's not been amongst the goals yet. I know she kind of had a golden opportunity late first half that the ball was squared across to her and she put it wide, but she kind of couldn't get her feet under her. She scuffed her shot. She seemed really disappointed, had her head in her hands. We see you, Cam. You haven't maybe you haven't gotten among the goals yet, but her involvement has been hugely important. Yeah, she's a major role in that second goal there, and it'll come. It'll come.
Yeah, I really hope she heard it because when that opportunity was missed, you heard the from the stadium as the shot gets missed, but literally within Section O didn't skip a beat. Like they were cheering her on, screaming, like basically telling her like keep your head up, keep going. You got this. It's coming. And I really hope she heard that because sometimes as a striker, you start off a season and it may take you a while to get your shooting boots on. And she's doing everything else right. Her runs are very dangerous. Her movement on and off the ball is devastating to defenders. I know she's very terrifying to a backline and goalkeeper. So the goals will come. She just needs to keep going. The goals will come. I'm not worried about Cam at all.
This is Elliot's fault.
Why is it Elliot's fault?
Here's the one saying 20 goal contributions in a 12-game season, and
that's putting too much pressure.
All right. So we did get 3 more goals. I'll run through them quickly just because, I think we've said Charlottesville was really flagging under the pressure. That's what happens when you're sort of chasing a game for not just a first half, but a full second half as well. 67th minute. We actually directly off a corner. This was one of the few that didn't actually look like an outswinger. It looked like went straight to the keeper who knocked it right in the air. And Kylie Fitzgerald was there to just crash it into the net, which sort of what you said, Matt. Look what happens when the ball's not middle of the 18-yard box instead of in the middle of the 6.
Yeah, especially on some of these lower quality teams, given the opportunity to make a mistake.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that ball was hard enough that the keeper got her fists on it and went really far up in the air. So clearly there was some good power on it. Yeah, look what happens. You just get the ball in the mixer. And then 2 goals after the 80th minute. So in the 82nd minute, Kana among the assists as well, because she was moved to the center when Morgan Oliver came on earlier. So this girl can do it all. She can play on the wing. She can play in the center. She sprayed the ball out wide to Taylor Berry on the right. Taylor drives inside, hits it low to the far post. So we are actually seeing some high quality shooting as well. And then lastly, in the 87th minute, ball deflected back out to the top of the 18 after a shot, and Maddie Vincent slams it home from the top of the box. So the level from Richmond not drop off at any point. Do either of you have any thoughts on sort of the last 3 goals, sort of how the team continued to play, the time ticked
not
down?
not necessarily specifically on any one of the goals, because I think they were almost your quintessential running up the score type goals, which I say is a good thing, because the way this league is structured, I think we're already seeing there's the haves and the have-nots, in this league, and Charlottesville's not even the bottom of the have-nots. There's a couple other teams we'll play later this season who seem quite dire based off of box scores, so far. But what that means is, in our division, first place will get through, and then maybe second place will, depending on how everything plays out in other divisions. So probably going to need very healthy goal difference to set yourself up for any tiebreakers. So it's good to see 5 go in the net, because right or wrong, this team has to run up the score to be able to provide a secondary option for how to advance into the playoffs.
Yeah, we need to be ruthless. We definitely need to be ruthless. This is grown folks game. This isn't children's game. We need to be ruthless. No mercy rule. Go at them. Get as many goals as we can, because the more goals we get, the more opportunity we have, like you said, Matt, to move on to the next round. In case something goes wrong, we can rely on goal differential to get us there.
And I hate that to be the transition to our next game, but 5 goals in this game shows why scoring goals is important, because you can never take your next game scoreline for granted, because that healthy goal differential that we earned against Charlottesville, unfortunately, ticked straight back down when we made the away trip to Winchester to play Virginia Marauders. So based on Marauders, this was Marauders' 3rd straight win. So they lost to the Richmond Ivy for their home opener, both teams' home opener, and now have won their next 3 games. So I think in light of that does make the 1-0 win from the opener a bit more impressive. But yes, it was a bit of a different story last week, Winchester. The final score was 4-0 to the Virginia Marauders. So we did not see the goals that we've come to appreciate in the first 2. I touched on the starting 11. There were 3 changes, 2 changes from the starting 11 against Charlottesville, which is understandable in light of the games coming thick and fast. Hannah Keaton had played every minute of the first 2 games, so she was given a rest in the first half. And Ava Pustover was not in the team, so I have her as an option. So Ella Stanley came in. Other than that, very similar starting 11. Unfortunately, as I said, Marauders have seemed to click into gear after that first game. From a perspective, taller, stronger, faster than the Charlottesville players as well. So the Ivy we'll play the first half. We'll do what we do. We pass the ball around, put the other team under pressure, tire them out. That game plan didn't work so well against players who are a bit more confident, a bit stronger, a bit faster, who can put that pressure right back. Matt, what did you see from that first half against the Marauders?
Yeah, I mean, they just look better, and it's disappointing to say that. Like, more organized. Like, we saw that in the first game. they were where they had a talent deficiency down in Richmond. Maybe they didn't have all their players with them that game. Don't know. I didn't bother to go back and cross check their lineups. But even then, they were very well organized. They getting in the right spots. They were very disciplined with their attack, or last game lack thereof. But even in this game, the patterns that they went in for the attack, consistently go inside, to their player, wearing number 10, as a center forward, and use her to be able to bounce the ball right back, outside, which opened up our defense time and time and time and time again. Doing that, they're very strong, one-on-one in the tackle. So whenever our players, were trying to advance the ball themselves without passing it, I wouldn't be. If you told me that Marauders won 85%, of the duels, I'd believe you. So they were. I don't want to say they're bullying the Ivy players around, because I don't think that's totally accurate. But they had a clear vision of what exactly they wanted to do in defense, what they clearly wanted to do in attack, and unfortunately, they executed so much better than the Ivy did, on Sunday night.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the we've seen, this Ivy defense has not come under a ton of pressure so far in the first two
Now they
games,
have.
because yeah, now they have. Junior, do you want to talk about the first goal from it didn't take long, y'all. 4th minute.
Yeah, just completely different situation from the way we play. Us, it's like a slow build. Uh, just I think it's just mistakes in the back. Um, hold on one sec. Yeah, it's just mistakes in the back. I think the basically not being able to take the medicine that we dish out. The pressure, not being able to get ourselves out from under the pressure. Munyak turns the ball over under pressure, and just with a few quick passes, they're past our line. They put the ball in the back of the net. You would. It's very difficult to take the time when you are going several games where you're dominating possession. There's not a lot of pressure on you to all of a sudden switch it on, especially against a team who you felt you already played and you already completely dominated possession. You had no pressure on you. You were the one dishing out all of the pressure, and then the next time you meet, all of a sudden the pressure's on you. It's like it was basically a knock in the teeth from the first minute, and the first victim of that was Munyak. Um, just just very panicky on trying to get that pass out under pressure. Um, uh, it's uh, it's unfortunate, but and you could see this build out throughout the rest of the game. As we talk about more of the goals, it's unfortunate, but you could just see the team was like, "Wait, how do we handle this? We're not prepared for this game plan." Um, I think it was just a little. It's a learning lesson for me, for the Ivy, for Kimmy, seeing, all right, you've got to be prepared for anything in this league. You've got to be prepared for any team to switch it on at any moment, because you need to realize you're dealing with a lot of young players, and young players, you never know. I can say from experience with coaching, young players, you never know what player you're going to get on the day. You might get someone who's completely on fire, and then the next game they're completely off of it. And Marauders were on fire yesterday. They were ready to come play. They did. I think they were not expecting what they got at City Stadium in our home opener, and that's what they've been preparing for this whole time.
Yeah, that's such a good point about the complacency too, because I think, yeah, after such a dominant performance at City Stadium, Marauders clearly weren't showing their potential in that game that they've now sort of stepped into in their the games that they've played since then, that there was likely a sort of sense of, okay, we've already dominated them, we've already played our game, so we'll do that again, and we shouldn't have any problems this time. And problems. And I think you could see the chaos in the back line. I don't know what Hargrove or Nelson were thinking back there.
I mean, I haven't gone back and watched the video of it because I did not want to submit myself to that again. The first goal, I don't know how much of it was Hargrove, because the Marauders player just rinses, Moniak gets, all the way up the line. She had all the time in the world just to be able to pick out whatever pass she wanted, and it was basically, a 10-yard slam dunk at that point, as long as the girl didn't hit the ball right at Hargrove. That's going to be a goal every single time. So some of the other one, the second one, we can talk a little bit more about fault there, but kind of go with what Chenier was saying. What I saw time and time again with the Ivy defense was just a combination of getting pulled a bit, and then just as a result there being acres of space behind them, whether that's on a wing or over the top, and then that alone, not the end of the world when it's the combination of that and then just getting beaten for pace almost every single time. Like, can't do both.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beaten for pace, pushed off the ball a lot more than they've experienced in the other games, sort of kind of from all sides.
Yeah.
The one other sort of main thing I noticed before the second goal came near the end of the first half, which helpfully the stream cut out. So there is no video footage of their second or their third goal, actually, because they seem to have deleted from the tape. They didn't look. I wouldn't say they looked bad in possession. They just were not in possession as often as they usually are. And the biggest thing I noticed was that Kana was not on the dribble pretty much at any point in the game. I honestly, maybe there was one or two times she took a player on. She was playing, but she was dropping centrally even before she was moved to the midfield in the second half. She was dropping central. She was having to Munya was making a lot more runs up the left wing. Kana was having to drop inside because I don't know if she was just being marked out of the game. She wasn't getting the ball in the right position to take it on. She's kind of like a cheat code in terms of getting the ball into the box, and she basically was not involved on the wing at all, which I think similarly, Sarah Flamia was not involved as heavily as we've seen her in the past. I think Dakota Brown was on the ball a lot more. This was her start, but she doesn't have as much game time this season. She was on the ball a lot more. Kylie Fitzgerald was a little bit more involved, but Sarah, Kana, and Cam, honestly, were not involved in the game as much as you'd hope for three players who've sort of been staying head and shoulders above the rest of the team. So
yeah, and I felt there were some opportunities because they got a good number of corners during that first half. There was one that I think it might have gone off the post at one point, or cleared off the line. Hard to tell because, of course, it was at the far end of the stadium from where we were. So it wasn't like they were without their chances. But also, as this half went on, I got the sense that you're starting to see a few more frustration shots. Ones that were, less than 1%ers. Just hey, let me rip and see what might come of this. And surprise, surprise, not much came of it. So hopefully this will be a good lesson for them of being able to deal with a little bit of adversity, because the other part I was concerned about, the fourth minute goal, was we saw Marauders really be able to set up shop in the first time we played them. I was like, oh crap, now they don't even have to pretend to attack. They can really just sit in the whole time. And I think it ended up pulling the Ivy up a little bit more, which Marauders took advantage of a lot of that space, including for the second goal.
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, Matt, do you want to describe
especially,
what.
but I will. Yeah, so it's first half stoppage time. So like I said before, number 10, uh, good physical player, from Marauders. I think if I remember correctly, she brings the ball down and he kind of touches it backwards, towards their number 7 player, who kind of playing an attacking mid role, very dribbly player. She probably could have, you know, opened up for a few more assists during the game, but she loved herself a dribble, and usually the Ivy were able to swarm her eventually and get the ball off of her. This time, she kind of just drifted. So imagine if she's attacking the goal, she's drifting to the right, finds her way inside the kind of the top corner of the right side of the box. It just kind of twists herself and hits a shot towards the goal. I wouldn't say she hit it overly hard, but kind of floats into the near post upper 90. And I think even most of us there in the stands didn't react at first. We're like, oh, wait, that went in. It didn't hit the side netting.
Huh.
Right? It just kind of found its way in there. I no idea where Harger was. I'm going to assume she thought it was going wide or going over and just got caught out by that. So then the player, of course, turns right around and starts, talking crap to us in the stands, which, okay, well, I guess that's deserved. It fits with Kate's theorem of celebrate. So,
Hey, we weren't talking too much crap. We were keeping it pretty PG. We had kids in the crowd, okay? We were.
yeah,
If any
that is true. It's
any
that can be a
campus
topic for
security from
another time
Shenandoah
of
University is listening,
why do we need to censor ourselves, for women's players, but yeah, that
not
was
because they were women, but
literally
because we were at a strange university where they could easily have said, "Hey, we don't like your drum. Get out of here."
there. Who was going to tell us that? There's no security there. There's no staff there. I mean, let's be real. But unfortunately, that was literally the next to last touch of the ball of the first half. So the whistle went immediately at kickoff, and you go into half down 1-0. Okay, not ideal, but you can work with that. Go down 2-0, having just conceded, felt a lot more daunting.
Yeah, especially since, as I said earlier, the game plan so far, even if they've not broken through in the first half, has said, okay, we're wearing them down. We've got possession. We maybe have the ropes. We have a lot more high quality. We have a lot more chances than they do, quality or not. They're not making much of it. More of the same. You're down 2-0. You can't do more of the same. Something's got to change. You gotta add a new dimension. You got to try something new. And especially with the amount of the rotation in the starting 11 to then the amount of changes made throughout the second half. They made a total of 7 changes throughout the second half. I think you're not putting yourself in a great position to what your opponent is strong and tall and fast and disciplined. It takes a lot to get yourself out of that hole. So I don't know if we necessarily saw a team that had a plan B. They tried. Kimmy definitely made some changes, but I don't know how big of a difference it made.
It made some changes. I think some of them might have been scheduled changes too, given the fixture congestion. Like, I got to imagine it was probably planned to bring in Cameron Miller, into goal for the second half. I have to imagine probably a couple of the other changes were planned to be able to get some players minutes and other players a little bit of a rest. But I also got to think maybe she, in the perfect world, wouldn't have made all those changes right at halftime.
Yeah, agree. So those changes at the half, I did write them down. Ella Stanley came off, and surprise, Cameron Simmons went to right back. So I guess we want to keep her on the field, so we'll put her where there's room to put her. Kana moved to central field as Sarah Flamia came off. And not even Taylor Berry came on to fill out the front 11. And then there were 2 like-for-like swaps, which was Hannah in for Dakota Brown, and Cameron Miller came in for Margaret. And there was a slight defensive reshuffle. Lindsay Muniak went from back to right center back. So all in all, the team that came out for the second half looked pretty different than the team in the first half, which again is great because, as you said, they kind of needed to do something different. We couldn't really just do more of the same because it clearly wasn't working. So Kimmy definitely shows a lot of initiative in her tactics and in making changes, moving players around. It's just a bit unfortunate. Yeah, I wouldn't say it worked. Unfortunately, it didn't work again. That's the way of it sometimes, though. When you've got a new group of players, they're figuring out how to work together. Sometimes it doesn't work.
Yeah. And I think this is like I said, it's a learning curve for a lot of these players. And I think they're gonna be able to chin up, bounce back from this.
I hope so. Marauders, I will say, they're on a hot streak. They're right now second in their division, so they've won 3 straight. So I'm glad that we've now played them both home and away. Obviously, we still got some tough teams coming up in the division, but it's good to know we won't actually have to play this team again because maybe they'll continue to take points off some of the other teams who we were thinking were going to be strong, Eagle, Inferno, etc. So we did not get to see the third goal on the replay on the cast. I honestly, I think I was in the bathroom or something as well. I literally could not tell you a single thing. Matt, what do you remember from that third goal?
Yeah, I saw it. It's probably the best goal, of the game. They 48th, 49th minute, somewhere around there. So another early, in the half goal. They're able to build it up coming, down the right. The ball, comes a little bit towards the middle, and a good, well struck, shot to, low to the far post, goes inside netting. It was a good shot. I mean, but spacing, they definitely had, the room to be able to operate again. They went down their right side, same, not too dissimilar to how the first goal came about, and they were able to find an open player closer to the center of the field. She was able to take a touch or two, and like I said, just whip a good right-footed shot across the face of goal and into the far corner. And at that point, I think realized, oh, this isn't going to happen today, is it?
Yeah. The team sort of did a check-in as well. Like instead of, going right to their positions for kickoff, they all sort of came together in the box. And I mean, hopefully a little bit of okay, what anything we should be doing differently went wrong. Didn't help that much though, because that was the 6th minute, the 62nd minute. So 8 minutes later, goal number 4. This one is a long ball from the back over the top that one of the Marauders players runs onto. She plays a cross in, and the player in the box completely unmarked. Nobody's around. Her run splits Cam and Lindsay, but neither of them are anywhere. Don't look like they're trying her run in any way. She actually gets the ball sort of on the end line at the back post. Cut inside, hits straight past Miller. Miller does try to come out, but she doesn't come out quick enough to really close the player down at all. And Lindsay is sort of standing at the far post, like on the end line, I guess, trying to like block, some of the goal line, but makes absolutely zero impact. Cam doesn't really put too much effort into getting back as she's covered the goal well. So again, just a kind of a organized back line. Nobody seems to be picking up the runner. Nobody seems to be making too much of an effort to close her down when she does get the ball. So hopefully now that we maybe have sorted out the goal scoring, get back to business in terms of defensive organization, because I think that's 2 goals that chaos at the back with nobody picking up their marks leads to some very, very easy goals, preventable goals with half decent marking.
Yeah. And I don't know if I'm 100% ready to say that we figured out the goal scoring, because we figured out the goal scoring against Charlottesville. I've not
True.
figured out the
Yeah.
other team we've played against, 1 goal in 2 games. So I don't know which one's the real Ivy yet.
Depends on the opponent, I guess. Maybe that's what we'll start seeing. Depends on
I think our next game against Christos, they seem pretty middle of the line. I mean, though, granted, they've had 4 games. We've had 3.
They've played all different teams. We've played the same team twice in that. They've played 4 different teams, right?
Yeah, true. So that gives us a better picture. I think they're more of a team that will be a test for us and give us a better idea of where we stand. So I think this Christos game is really going to tell us a story of where we stand with regards to everyone else.
Yep. Yeah, I would say I didn't think this was Hannah's best game. That's all right. She came in the second half. They were already down. Total sort of shape reorganization. So I can understand that. And obviously, I think she works really well with Kylie and Sarah, both of whom came off. So she was playing with 2 players who she hasn't spent a ton of time playing with. Sarah, again, was replaced by Taylor Berry. Eventually, Morgan Oliver comes in. She moves into the midfield for Kendall Sarver. And we did see Issa Elavara for the first time coming in for Kylie Fitzgerald in the 5th minute. We did see a couple players. And last but not least, Bree Fulkerson came in for Kana as well. So we did see, again, seven changes. So a lot of players got minutes, which Kimmy had multiple times. We do not lose at home. We do lose at home. So maybe there's a sense of, if a game's not going our way when we're away from home, we'll give some more players some more minutes. We'll experiment a little bit with our shape, with our tactics, since maybe we're not coming away with anything there. So we might see a slight difference between home and away. I know that they're planning on making City a fortress that they will put their absolute best into not losing, which you do love. I do love that attitude. I would rather, if I'm showing up week in, week out, that I'm seeing goals and I'm seeing wins. I've said that on this podcast. I've said it on other podcasts. Wins at home, please. Would like to see it if wins when the fans travel as well, but I'll let it slide. I'll let it slide this one time.
Yeah.
And then lastly, Cameron Miller did make a big save in a 2v1, sort of 15, 20 minutes left in the second half. It was a 2v1. Good for her confidence to make a save in a half where maybe she didn't necessarily, her positioning, her organization of her back line wasn't as strong as it could have been. But I do think the Marauders player took her shot way too early and did not take advantage of the fact it was a 2-on-1. It was a 2-on-1, but one of the 2 just dribbled right at the goal, took the shot. The other player was not involved at all. So, but good for her confidence, I think, for her to get a save. Yeah, thoughts on that, on the second half that we haven't touched on so far? Any?
Not really, no.
No, not really.
I think it's one of those days you write off. You're like, okay, you get one of those. Can't afford to do a second one of those.
No, we can't.
Yeah. No, especially not with 4 goals. Maybe 1 or 2, but not 4. I do want to briefly mention for anyone who didn't watch the stream, this was a turf field. Ball moves very fast on turf, and there were more lines on this field than any sports field has any right to have. So I can imagine having no clue which was the sideline might have impacted the game a little bit. The ball moves a lot quicker on turf than it does on our gorgeous, gorgeous grass at City Stadium. So slightly different conditions than they were probably used to. And I think this can really speak to how the crowd at City Stadium is the 12th player, so to speak. That's an asset that if the Ivy continues to adjust to playing with that noise, with that sort of atmosphere, with that emotion, but the visiting teams, for many of them, this might be the biggest crowd any of them have ever played in front of, that we really could see that as sort of like an intangible for the Ivy that we obviously maybe expected it, but now playing Marauders home and away, clearly Marauders were a very different side in a much quieter stadium on their home turf than they were in front of the 6,000 strong crowd at City Stadium.
That does play a factor.
Yeah, I was gonna say we still took all 3 points in the stands. I think Ivy, between fans, family, friends, outnumbered. The Marauders. Take that as you will, but we'll take the wins where we can get them.
Yes, we will. So a little peek at our upcoming games. We actually Wednesday we play Nova FC at, I believe, the same stadium. They also Winchester. Most of us thought Nova was going to be sort of like Metro, Northern Virginia, DC suburb. Apparently, no. Nova is also Winchester. So let's hope better go around in that stadium. Nova has 1 win, a 10-1 win over Patuxent, and 2 losses, 3-1, both Marauders and Lancaster. So Patuxent, poor Patuxent, has a, I think, negative 32 goal differential out of 3 games.
Yeah.
So that's sort of one where I think it's non-negotiable. You got to score 10 goals at Patuxent. So again, I don't know how. So Nova might be a decent bellwether as well. And then the big one, Christos, who has 2 wins, 6-2 versus Charlottesville and 11-0 at Patuxent. And 2 losses, 3-0 versus Marauders and 2-0 versus Lancaster. So will be interesting to see how those play out. Home and away to compare as well, with or without the fans. And the last thing we want to mention is we will be missing Cameron Simmons for the next few matches because she has been called up to the Jamaican national team for their upcoming international break. And so they also play Saturday. They play in Brazil at 4 p.m. So I'm hoping maybe this will be a nice break for Cam. She's obviously been hit a few times, had a few hard tackles, slow to get up on occasion. Depending on her minutes, maybe will be a rest compared to the relentless schedule of W League. So hopefully being with her national team teammates, she'll get her confidence back and come back maybe a little rested, rejuvenated, ready to score those 20 goals that were predicted on this podcast. But we'll definitely be keeping an eye on that game. Hopefully we'll see her on the field.
Yeah. She will be missed because even though she hasn't scored goals, she's definitely a good focal point. You could see the change in the Charlottesville game where she started out as a winger and then was brought more central and started to create so much more trouble for Charlottesville's back line when she played more centrally. She is definitely a focal point player who can provide those layoff passes to players like Kana and whoever else may be playing on the wings at any particular time, and even for our midfield players coming in late runs into the box. She's definitely someone who could lay off some good passes, and she could turn and shoot as well. And like I said, the goals will come with her, so she will be missed. This next game is going to be a test for us. It's really going to be a test. I think Christos is looking like they are going to be a mid-table team. They seem like they're kind of along the same level as us based on their results. The loss against Marauders, their win against Charlottesville, very similar to ours. So from what it's looking like, it looks like this is going to be our challenge.
Yeah. Any last thoughts, Matt?
Good thing about all these games so tight is you bounce back right away. No time to think about what happened. Just get right back at it and go get 3 points.
Yeah.
No time to dwell at all, and no time for us to dwell at all because these are podcasting marathons. So that's that. Please connect with us again at River City 93. If you have any thoughts, be sure to join the Vinegard Facebook group if you'd like to get more involved in the supporters group. If you have song suggestions, chant suggestions, banner suggestions, we're taking them all. And we're super excited to see everybody on, I think they're calling it RVA Soccer Day on Saturday, which will be a triple header of the Ivy play at 2 p.m. versus Christos at City Stadium, an afternoon game at City Stadium for once, followed by a back watch party at 3 Notched for the 5 p.m. women's national team game and then the Kickers game later that night. So we'd love to see you all there for any combination of those 3 games. It will be a whole lot of fun. Yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll see you on Saturday.